Richards trying to scoot in there alone. It pinballs to the crease. Score!
Let's get it.
Oh my God! Here we go.
You're listening to the Pod Street Bullies Podcast with your hosts, Derek.
How you gonna get it, Bobby?
John. Matt Casey.
Unnecessary, but totally necessary.
And Cody.
What's not to love?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Pod Street Bullies. I am John. Derek might be with us. At first, he wasn't going to be with us. Then he was with us. Then the internet stopped working. I don't know. He's about as decisive as my junior prom date. But
AOL dial-up will do that to you.
we will start without him and see where things lead us. But anyway, I do have the Mats with me. Casey, after your long bender, how you doing, buddy?
Still kind of going. We've toned it down a little bit in preparation for vacation, but great to be here. And Hoagie, I'm now just looking at your shirt, and man, I'm hard for that shirt. That's great. Hoagie's wearing a "We're Hard for Torch" shirt from our friends at High and Wide Hockey, and that's quality. I think I got to order one.
It's about the only thing we're hard for right now, right?
Are those your opening words, Hoagie?
No.
What you're going with?
What's going on, everybody?
You know, there's a lot going on and not a lot going on all at the same time. I'm echoing and I don't like it very much, but hopefully that goes away. Anyway, free agency is essentially done. There's a lot to talk about, so I think we should really dive right into it. And I think before we talk about what ended up happening, I really think it's important to rewind it a little bit and talk about the actions that led up to free agency, because I think it sets the stage where our brains were one place and then the Flyers went a different direction. So obviously the draft happened.
Like a bull with the red cape there. Yeah, that's what we got.
Exactly. Yep.
At the draft, they trade for Tony DeAngelo, sign him to a 2-year deal, right? After that, the day before free agency starts, they buy out Oscar Lindblom. We have $3 million that are free now. Then there's news that Johnny Gaudreau wants to come to Philadelphia. Like, it's all over Twitter. There's articles written about it. It's his first choice. Casey, at this point in time, where's your head at?
My God, is this really going to happen? Like, and I was like, based on a lot of conversations that we have and a bunch of chats and stuff, it was like, yeah, like it's looking like this is going to happen. All we have to do is move 1, maybe 2 contracts. And I thought it was going to happen. And I was just, as the rest of Flyer Nation, supremely disappointed. But at that moment, I was like, okay, like we have a day or so. Let's make this work. You know, the least best kept secret in free agency was that Gaudreau wanted to come to the Flyers. Like, we even knew that back in February. Right. And so I said, let's make it happen. And obviously it didn't pan out that way.
All right. So Hoagie, night before free agency, where's your head at, buddy?
I mean, the news of Oscar Lindblom getting bought out, the cards were the dominoes were starting to fall, and I was getting excited, ready to go. Here we go. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. It's gonna be 1:00 p.m. and Johnny Gaudreau signing. I was just waiting for that other domino to fall of trading JVR to clear that cap space. And that didn't happen. And much along with Casey, I was very disappointed, very frustrated. And
hold on to that. All right, we didn't get there yet. We're setting the stage.
Casey can say, but I can't. Jeez.
Right. Yep. That's pretty much it right there. Yeah. Derek Pomp.
Who's that guy?
Are you with us?
Derek,
I'm here.
Do you have a beer mug of water?
I do. It is not the first appearance that it's made here.
Huh?
What the hell?
Look, much like Matt Casey, I was on about a week-long bender down at the beach, so I got to hydrate somehow.
Casey's bender's not done. We've confirmed.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm in a
Kudos
lull.
to you for
I'm in a
lasting
lull.
that long.
So, Derek, anyway, so I know you kind of came in midway through
Yeah.
this talking point, but anyway, the moves that happened prior to free agency starting, right?
Sure.
Where's your head at with this team? What are you thinking free agency is going to look like?
So the moves made, we picked up D'Angelo, which we spoke about last week. I thought that for the person that he is, for the player that he is, great. We got somebody that can, play defense, which is what we sorely need. The Lindblom buyout.
He can move the puck.
He can move the puck. Yeah.
Right.
He can move the puck and put up points. We didn't discuss, obviously, because it didn't happen yet, but the Lindblom buyout, I'm happy for him. I'm glad that he landed with the Sharks on a $2.5 million a year deal. It's bittersweet to see him go, but at the end of the day, it's a business. And you got to understand that. A lot of people can't really come to terms with that, and not sorry. Really, really disappointed in not just the fact that we couldn't move JVR to free up cap.
Hold on.
We're
Stop.
talking
No.
pre. We're
Yeah,
talking pre.
But but that could have happened.
Should that not have been done before free agency began?
All right, fine, whatever.
Yes.
I mean, should we add anything else we could segue?
Well, yeah, but what I'm thinking though, and maybe this is, I can just add my part here, is I was completely convinced that we were going to move JVR by noon on free agency and that Johnny Gaudreau was going to be a Flyer. Like, I think by that point, the idea of us buying out Lindblom, to me, I was like, all right, yep, they've got something in place. JVR's gone. We've got Gaudreau. It's done.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
And then to segue, and Derek, I'll kick it to you first.
Like,
we get to free agency, and the Philadelphia Flyers can't clear the JVR cap. They can't sign Johnny Gaudreau. He ends up going to Columbus, but they do sign Nick Delorier, a tough-nosed fourth liner who, it seems like there's nothing but raving reviews about this guy and the role that he plays on the ice. Mm-hmm. They sign him to 4 years, about $1.75 million per, and they bring back good old Justin Braun for 1 year, $1 million. So Derek, now that it's all happened, we've had a few days to think about it. Where's your head at now?
So I'll wait to get into JVR being unloaded because that's a bigger discussion. Sure. The Braun signing, I like it. I'm obviously just gonna keep playing it on loop here. No, that sums it up. I mean, I shouldn't say I like it. I'm content with it because what you're looking at now is likely Provorov, D'Angelo up top. You've got Sanheim and Ristolainen you can keep together. And then that third pairing, you have Justin Braun and hopefully Cam York. Justin Braun, a very responsible defender, a very experienced defender, somebody that Cam York can learn a lot from. Cool. I'm all right with that. Fine with it. Nick Delorier, a lot to unpack with that too because the player, I like the player. I like what he brings to the team. I like what he brings off the ice because apparently he's a great family man, a great person in general. The fact that we gave this guy 4 years at $1.75 million and a modified no trade clause, the goddamn cherry on top. What the hell is Chuck Fletcher thinking? That is, and I'm going to use this word probably a number of times tonight. That is malpractice. That is functional malpractice.
Yeah, and I do want to tackle that whole idea of what is Chuck Fletcher thinking after we kind of get through our initial thoughts here. But Hoagie, what say you, buddy?
So what I heard from Derek was he's content with mediocrity, and we're
I'll blow me.
But I just don't understand it. We have a Zach McEwen that's in an RFA waiting for a deal. We're going to go out and sign Nick Delorier for 4 years. No, the modified no trade clause is just boggling to me. The Justin Braun, that just eyes to me. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Run it back season. This is just Chuck Fletcher saying, I don't really care what's going on. we're just gonna put Justin Braun back in this lineup, and if Tony DeAngelo doesn't work out in the first pair, Justin Braun can do it. Did it last year. It's just frustrating what we came away with, and then we brought the Troy Grosnick AHL goalie from Providence Bruins, and we're going to hear
Bell pedophile too. That's
What?
Belpedio. Who's the guy you put on the ticker here? I'm just reading through.
Louis Belpedio.
Bill. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I think you're saying this guy
Looked like pedophile to
Grosnick
me.
was a registered pedophile.
Oh, God.
It's the Bill with the moves the
We're
Flyers
really
are making.
bringing in all of
Apparently,
the.
Derek's still on his bender right here, but no.
you thought this was water.
The Grosnick is just confusing to me because now we're just gonna have a three AHL goalies battling for a backup spot right now. It's puzzling to me right now.
Yeah, I mean, Casey, when I look at these moves, I think in a vacuum, if you look at all of them separately, I don't mind any of them.
Mm-hmm.
To me, though, when you look at the big picture, I'm all sorts of confused. What do you think?
It's the body of work, and we touched on it before, and I think everyone who has any sort of pulse on the Flyers, you hear this aggressive retool and like whatever. It's a term that
Right.
we can debate, but the setup that we all mentioned before the draft, and not to mention the body of work and the leading move that we made in bringing Torts in, who doesn't want to just see the sunset in his career. He wants to win. Everything was lining up for that quote unquote aggressive retool to be defined. It wasn't. It wasn't. We weren't aggressive enough. I think if Delorier, is that how you pronounce his name? If
Doesn't
he
sound
is
like a car.
if he is the one move that we made this year, I'm sort of like, man, that's tough.
Hey, Ron Hextall running the show again.
We
What's
brought
going
in
on here?
Cooper Merity. It's all good.
that is
Brought
a
back
tough
Cooper
pill to
Merity.
swallow. And so I think the overall, I don't quite get the game plan, and I'm more so just kind of miffed at the miscommunication or lack of communication with the fans that Chuck has been having, and that I think is why everyone is so pissed off. But I'm sure we'll get to that. By the way, back to the defense with Braun. I don't mind the Braun signing at all.
No.
I think Braun and York would be great, and especially giving our injury history with everyone on the roster. Like, great, we know him. He's good. We know he's going to have trade value at the trade deadline if we don't make it that far.
He can get us another third round pick. Woohoo!
Right. Which
3 drafts from now.
Yeah, 2027.
I will say this:
you, Braun.
I'll be the optimist of the group. If yeah, I piss and moan on Twitter. We have Carter Hart. We have Carter Hart in the back. Okay, that's great. It's now his role. We have 2 unproven backups. Carter, this is your show. Step up or get the hell out of here.
Right.
Then you have a defense which, with DeAngelo and with the setup that Derek just mentioned, I think it's a decent defense. If by some God's grace that we get some good luck, if Ellis comes back, I think we have a very good defense. Like, holy shit. Like,
Sure.
we're actually going to have a really solid defensive core. I cannot say that for the forwards or anything like that, but I think if you're looking at this from a back up,
add in the coach too. I think that the way that the coach is going to run this team plays a big role into that.
We wanted Chuck to do it all in the same season, and we were hoping for the same magic that we saw last season, which obviously blew up in our face. It was like, what's in the magic box? It just blew up right in our face. But you can see a plan coming into place, but I don't even think it's the plan that Chuck had in mind.
I want to reference back to our episode that we talked about coaches, though, real quick, and we'll get back to you, Casey. I'm sorry. But we talked about Tortorella and the system that he implements and how long it takes. Those teams that he coaches in their first year typically don't see the success that they see in years 2, 3, 4, whatever it might be. So I am anticipating to suck again this coming up year, regardless of how well this system. Yeah, exactly. I'm anticipating to suck again, but like If it means there's success in the next couple years, okay. But tell us that. Tell us, like, hey, we're going to be complete shit this year.
Well,
just bear with us. It'll get better.
I think that's why most Flyer fans are pissed off. And when I say most, I mean the ones who are thinking about this more logically. Obviously, you have the ones that just wanted to go out and get Johnny Gaudreau and don't think about anything else. It's like, I'm not upset that we didn't get Johnny Gaudreau. I really think that could have been a mistake because I just don't think this team was ready. If we got him, Derek, I see that look. If we got him, would I have been excited? Of course I would have been excited. I just don't think we were at that point. What frustrates me is that we were sold this idea that we were going to go out and make serious changes. We were unhappy with the team last year, and we were going to do this aggressive retool, right? Everything up to free agency gave you this idea that that's the direction this team was going. You know,
terrible.
Casey, you said John Tortorella, but Tony DeAngelo fits right into that. Right?
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, so now, now we're buying out Oscar Lindblom. And then it's like, well, wait, nope, that's not what we're doing anymore. I think that if Chuck Fletcher just went and said, listen, we have contracts that are going to be impossible to move. We will try our best. There's a good chance it won't happen. And if that's the case, we have to just build. The next year is going to be a building block. We're going to do what we can do to change kind of the vibe around this team, but we can't change it all in a year. Derek, you look really puzzled, buddy. What's the matter?
But the thing is, Columbus signed Gaudreau to a 7-year deal. So we're not talking like we're just going to have him for the next year, the year after. Like, he's going to be there for 7 years,
potentially.
Meaning that if we are successful down the line, he's part of that.
Sure.
So, like, my point being, it's not a total, like, for lack of a better term, F up if we sign him to
absolutely
that type of deal.
Not. I just don't think it was the smartest thing to do.
Well, of course, nothing that Chuck Fletcher does is smart. Let's be upfront about that. But
no, okay, so let's go back to this though. So let's assume if the rumors were true that Chuck was being like he was going to have to pay the price of one of our first draft picks in 2023.
Well, we only have one, but
it's the next draft.
It's 2024.
Okay,
it's 2024.
So our one first round pick in 2023. Do you guys agree that was too steep of a price to pay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So like, what are we really talking about here? Like, if that is the card that he was dealt and we didn't even have the caps, like
he was dealt that because he's incompetent. Like,
right.
GMs know that they can fleece Chuck Fletcher. Like,
and I don't doubt that. But I don't think any of us agree that was going to be the smart move to make at noon or 1 whenever free agency started. Like, that wasn't the smart move to make.
But can we all agree that at the very least, dispel those rumors? Come out and say what you said
100%.
afterwards. Like, we were never in on Gaudreau. Didn't want him. That at least shows me that Chuck Fletcher did his due diligence, couldn't make it work, and that he's going to make it known. This left us all hanging. Like, everybody, nobody knew. Even up towards the end of the day when Gaudreau signed, he signed day 2, correct?
No, day 1.
The late day 1,
Right.
Yeah.
Even midway through, after 12, whatever, it's not midway through the day, people were still like, oh, there's still hope. Like, no, there was never hope, but we didn't know that. We thought that.
I think that's my biggest issue with how it was handled is that one comment that Chuck made, which was, we were never in on the Johnny Gaudreau sweepstakes.
That's where I wanted to go next.
And which is, yes, we were. I have from a source, the only source we have, that we indeed were. And so why not just say, like, we tried to make it work, we couldn't make it work,
couldn't move the cap. We couldn't move the money.
Couldn't create the cap.
I can accept that. Him trying to fleece us as a fan base frustrates the hell out of me.
Right. Well, and he also said that, he was only in on the guys that they signed. And I'm calling bullshit on it. Like, that's
circled Braun. Yeah, he's our guy.
Yeah, it's like, come on, dude. He just blatantly lied to everybody.
They had so long, though. Like, this came down to the wire. This is quintessential me in college waiting until midnight to submit a paper that's due at 12:01. Like, you had so much time to figure this out, get rid of the cap that you needed to get rid of, and likely not for what they were asking at that time, which would be our 2023 first rounder. And we could have somehow made that work. And I think that's the bigger of my gripes with the whole situation and how it panned out.
I also think too, and Hoagie, I'm going to bring it to you, buddy, because you haven't said much. Shocker. But anyway,
did interject there, and I like that.
I was surprised.
Right. I'm trying.
If you think about last offseason and what they gave up for Ristolainen, if you think about big picture, right? They cleared the Ghost money to sign Ristolainen. So that's Ghost, a second round pick, a first round pick, and other draft assets, right?
And Robert Haig.
Why not be willing to do something similar for an obviously better player?
Right. I think that's what is confusing to all of us is, he paid so much of a price for Ristolainen last offseason and other names like Cam Atkinson. But I mean, that was a 1-for-1. But like you made the room for these players to come in. Why not pay that price for a proven goal scorer, someone that's going to improve the team potentially in the right direction for years to come? Like I think why everybody is so frustrated about the term aggressive retool is we were going to make this splash, bring in new faces, and what really frustrates me is that we don't really have new faces this year.
Right.
We're only losing Claude Giroux, which we knew that was never coming back. Oscar Lindblom bought out. Martin Jones. Those are like the only three names that you can really think of that are gone. Like I think we were
Jerry Mayhew.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Mayhew mania, baby. But
that Jerry guy.
But like those are the names. Like we're essentially running it back with the same team, just lesser products, which is frustrating. So
our new faces are off the IR. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Essentially. And Derek, I think what I look at is Chuck Fletcher looks at every move on its own. There seems to be no long view, no big picture here because they don't really match up. Do you agree, disagree with that?
I completely agree. I think that is, again, a gripe that I have with Chuck Fletcher, one of many. When you're in the situation that you're in right now with how the team is playing, what you've been dealt in terms of contracts, players, whatever it might be, there needs to be a plan. Like Hextall had a plan and it was being executed, whether it was successful or not. Obviously we know the answer to that, but Fletcher,
it was clear what his plan was.
It was very clear. He was fantastic with trades. He was great at, freeing up cap space, which for what it's worth, way to go, Ron, thanks for nothing. But it's just unfortunate that now we've got a GM, which again, this could be a topic for another discussion here, but is he pulling the strings?
No,
we don't know. We might know. I don't know. But it's just frustrating. Like there should be a plan in place. That plan needs to be in place, or else we get off seasons like this every off season. I don't want a Nick Delorier for 4 years every off season. I don't want a Cooper Merity coming back. Like I don't care.
I've never heard of this guy. Who is Cooper?
We had him. We had him
drafted
before.
him. We drafted him in 2015, 2016.
Right. He was a 7th rounder, wasn't he, or something like that?
Nothing, yeah.
And we traded him for a 3rd round pick, like ROI, baby, ROI. And then we sign him, and it's like we bring in Grosnick, we bring in all these other guys. We sign Morgan Frost to another deal worth $800,000. Like, why?
That's a prove it deal for Frost. That's,
for sure.
Wasn't the last one?
Well, this one on a 1-year deal. This is prove it to me, or you're getting shipped out in the package.
Right, under $1 million. Like,
yeah.
What have we seen from this guy that shows us he can prove anything?
So, would you have not tendered him?
Would I have not tendered him? I would have tendered him, sure, but like at the same rate, this guy's not. I don't know. I've almost completely soured it.
Now I want Morgan Frost to have a 30-goal season just to like shove it in your freaking face.
I hope he does. I do.
You won't. You'll be like, no. Remember in 2019, I said no way that Morgan Frost is going to be a 30-goal scorer. Yeah. we're all
So-
off the Morgan Frost train. But
Casey, what about you and Fletcher's plan? Do you feel like he has one? Is he just a in the moment kind of guy? What do you say?
no, so I have a couple feelings on this. One, I think of like, all right, what is the plan or what should it be? And like, where are we with that? It's like, we needed a new coach, a coach that could actually reach and pull potential out of, how do you put iffy players or like substandard players that aren't reaching their potential. Okay, huge check and a check plus. Like, now that we know that Trotz isn't going anywhere, like
Right.
this looks like
We
an even
won.
better move. Like, hell
Yep.
yeah, great job. Getting the team healthy, that's obviously an X factor, which like you can't really put on Chuck, but like you have Coots and Hayes looking decent, you have Ellis and Farabee looking not so decent. Farabee hopefully is back by Thanksgiving and we're good to go there. But like, okay, so that's a little bit like TBD. Scoring help, absolutely not. Like we
Right.
didn't get one bit of scoring help.
High
Improved
end talent.
yeah, high end talent. Improved defense. I could argue, yes, we improved our defense.
Yeah.
And did we get tougher? Yeah, I guess we can say we got a little bit tougher. But like, there's a lot of like if factors in there. We're just relying on a lot of younger guys playing better. We're relying on, I hate to say it, people doing their job better. But like that's what we're relying on, and I think that's kind of fair. I think it's unfair to the team and the franchise that we didn't address the scoring help at all, at least to date, on whatever day we're on there, 7/18.
Sure.
So that's like the plan I think Fletcher has, but my biggest concern, and Derek alluded to this, is who's actually pulling the strings. Once Hextall, you could see Hextall's plan until the moment that he signed JVR.
Yep.
And that was the very moment that it was clear that Bobby Clark and the Holmgren and those guys
Powers that
had to say that we're done. We need to do something now. And at the time, I was like, okay, like I guess JVR was decent back then. Now he's decent now. Like, I don't know. I was pretty mixed on it, but he also wasn't the franchise player in any way, shape, or form back then either.
Much like Nolan Patrick.
Right. And now I'm looking at this, and we've heard rumors of last offseason being possibly able to move Provorov for a huge haul. He didn't do it because the higher up said not to. We're seeing a lot of misinformation with this offseason and the Goudreau stuff. Like, I think if Chuck had his way, maybe he would have pulled the trigger and gone for it.
It's in his history for sure.
Yeah, and what were those? I mean, how long were those Suter and Parisi deals?
I think there's when they were bought out, they still had like 4 or 5 years left. Or something.
12.
So I'm just worried that Chuck is basically now just a lame duck. And how much power does he really have? And are we just looking at another guy who gets promoted into SVP of hockey operations, and we bring in some other guy who's going to have to take the years? So,
right. And Derek, I don't know if you got a chance to see or hear any of his press conference at the end of free agency, but there was a different Chuck Fletcher at the podium.
He seemed aggravated,
frustrated,
almost down.
Yeah.
And that to me right there does tell me that he isn't the one making the end decision. He's got his input, obviously, as does everybody within the organization, I'm sure, but it just looked like a man who had been defeated. Hoagie said it perfectly. Defeated. Like, I can say all I want to say, but at the end of the day, my wife's going to tell me this is what we're going to do. And here I am looking defeated every goddamn Sunday.
Hence my Sunday. There you go.
But no, all jokes aside, you did see a different Chuck Fletcher. And I think that is very concerning. Not necessarily because Chuck Fletcher's the guy that I want making the decisions, but I definitely don't want the Dave Scotts and those types of people making the decisions because they don't know hockey. Like I don't
even think
Fletcher.
Dave Scott's not involved in
I'm going to blame Dave Scott.
Yeah, we are.
We know.
It's
Because
this
to
whole
me-
middle C-suite echelon that
Right.
is just like sitting there as these advisors, Holmgren, Clark, Barber.
Pull a Hextall. Don't even listen to him. Just pull a Hextall.
But I think you've got to
But
have
there's
some
wing
kind.
it.
they're still gonna make their opinions known. To be honest, I don't think Barber's really involved as much as
I don't hear
we
his name
think.
all that much.
Yeah,
but
you never
no.
do. It's always Homer and Clark.
Clark, right?
And they've been around for how long at this point? Like,
Paul Holmgren's got to just be like, you know what? I wanted to retire. I need out.
so
Like he's just got to ride off
tell-
into the sunset for him.
Tell them both to just go. Like they've had their glory days. I think that's
Was
what they want.
Hextall on to
But
something?
don't you? But
Kicking
don't you
out
think?
alumni?
But don't you think that if, like, let's just say hypothetically that they were the ones that had the say here, wouldn't you agree that they would want Goudreau? Or Dave Scott for that matter, if we want to go that way and say that he's the one making the
That's a
decisions.
fair point.
Like,
I mean,
wouldn't you say
at
that?
At
To
that
me,
point, I think Dave Scott would. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
to me, when that press conference happened, when Dave Scott and Fletcher did that whole aggressive retool thing that we always just can't seem to get away from, Chuck Fletcher seemed hesitant about that whole idea. He kept talking about building through the draft, and the best way to get high-end talent is through the draft. So to me, it was more like he couldn't get Goudreau done, and the higher-ups were pissed.
Right.
You know, that's kind of how I viewed that situation. I think that Chuck Fletcher has one view for how this needs to be done, while the other voices might have a different idea.
You know, funny you brought that up because I kind of seem to take that away from Chuck Fletcher's press conference on Wednesday of, you know, he's really invested in the young guys, the Cutter Gautier, sorry. The Devin Kaplans, like he's invested in building through that draft, and he was really excited about the young guys that they have for the future. So I think like he didn't want to give up that first round pick that could have pushed out JVR because he knows that that's going to help us succeed in the future.
Right.
So that's what I took away from it. I'm glad you actually brought it up, John.
So are the higher ups then with the Flyers? Is this like for lack of a better term, like a PTSD moment? Because a lot of what you guys are saying is what Hextall preached and what Hextall was executing, and in the midst of executing, building through the draft, homegrown talent, stocking the cupboards, you know, very fiscal for that matter too. Is there just a disconnect between expectations when it comes to the people who, you know, for the sake of this argument, are making quote unquote the decisions, as opposed to Chuck Fletcher, who should be making the decisions? You know what I mean?
Well, I think the Hextall thing's an extreme.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think that was an extreme example of building through the draft, because that he just thought we would just wait 10 years till all the draft picks turned into, you know, NHL players and it would all be good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I do think that, like, if Chuck Fletcher, and then Casey, I want to jump to you because you haven't been able to say anything in a while, but if Chuck Fletcher does have this mindset of we need to take a step back from these aggressive moves on NHL talent just because of look at our salary situation, and we need to start kind of reseeding the farm, if you will, then that makes sense to me. Like, that's kind of what I thought they should do from the get-go. But who knows if he's actually thinking that. Casey, what do you think about all of it, buddy?
Yeah, I think if you look at where, you know, the actions versus the, you know, what is being said, everything is indicating that, okay, this is the year where you hopefully solidify a few positions in there. You get better, you get good coaching, you get more out of the players that you have. And then when cap frees up next year, you're actually able to make a move if you need to, right, while continuing to like build through the draft. And next year's draft is so ballyhooed that, you know, that's great. I just wish that they were honest about it. And again, that's where fans like us were just like, oh, come on, man. We're not Columbus. We're not looking the other way and you're waiting for Ohio State football here. Like, right, you know, just we're going to be on your ass. And I almost feel for Chuck because opening night they're going to be like, okay, introductions for everyone. Chuck Fletcher's going to come up, and I mean, it's going to be the worst booze that you've ever.
Be so bad.
Seen. It's going to be awful, and you're going to see like a single tear drop by, like the Indian who saw his land being littered, and like stuff like that.
You're going to see him walk on the ice, just double burns to everybody. Just go full heel
with Nick Delorier around his arm.
The only person who can console him is Batman. Batman's gonna be like, hey, here's how you deal with this.
This happens all the time.
Don't you worry, Chucky. You'll get used to it.
Did you watch the last dozen or so drafts?
But it sucks to hear it. I feel like we were a little bit bait and switch, but I'll stand by what I said. We're in year 2 of the 3-year, rebuild plan, and next year will be the year that I think we do make a significant move to improve the front end of our lineup.
And this plan makes me think of Deeds. Or not Deeds, I'm sorry.
Mr. Deeds?
Big Daddy.
Genius.
What's the 5-year plan? Don't die?
But I think
what's the 5-year plan? Don't suck?
One thing we need to keep in mind, too, is that JVR will be a very tradable asset come next trade deadline.
Yeah.
So
what do you think realistically you get for JVR the trade deadline?
Chuck at the helm?
Future considerations.
2026 4th round pick.
He's going to Montreal for the 7th rounder.
What's the gift that Hoagie uses in our group chat all the time? It's like emotional damage. It's like future considerations.
Emotional damage.
So just to kind of move on from free agency, right? Chuck Fletcher's essentially said they're done. I kind of believe him. I think last year I would have just been like, hey, you never know. Maybe there's another trade here in the midst. He seems pretty done.
I have a thing.
Oh.
I wouldn't be shocked to see a trade happen.
Okay.
I'm
talking Tarasenko.
I'm not even going down the Tarasenko route, but
Right.
I think that Chuck has to see how much he swung and missed on this one. Like I can see a trade happening.
Redemption, Chuck.
Here's the problem with
Don't start with the
Yeah.
redemption tours.
But here's the problem with that, Casey, and you kind of bring up another interesting conversation. Once again, Chuck Fletcher will be dealing from a point of weakness where another team can take advantage of him. Like think about the Giroux thing, right? Think about Ristolainen. I almost feel like he got probably fleeced on TDA at some, but it's like I always feel like he's coming from a point of desperation where other teams know, all right, well.
Right.
Oh, it's the Philadelphia number calling. Here we go.
Pay up, buddy. Oh, you want Brent Burns for 3 first-round picks? Oh, I don't know.
So unless we have like a
Brent Burns,
a PR nightmare scenario, in which case, like, hey, that's our thing. Give it to us. Yeah.
Flyers signed Slava Voinov.
Right. Oh, Jesus. Right. Keep changing that culture.
I don't. I can still see something happening. At the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if nothing did, but I wouldn't be shocked if in a week or two we're just like, whoa, where the hell did this come from?
You know what's going to happen? We're on clean.
Popping some Adderall and be like, damn it, I missed the test. I got to do really good on the extra credit.
He trades for Johnny Gaudreau now from Columbus.
I said that one.
What a dick move from Columbus, though. We're going to sign you to a 7-year deal, but we're shipping you out.
Oh, that'd be really funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do want to shift to kind of, now that we enter the dog days of summer, questions with this team. I had 3 that kind of stuck with me. One of them
gives you the right.
How dare you?
Center. I still don't know what's going on in the center position. The backup goalie thing has me incredibly confused. And 3, who's scoring the goals? Hoagie, I'll go with you. What do you have with any of these? I mean, do you have any questions? What are you thinking here?
I mean, once again, there's more questions than answers. We've said it multiple times this offseason and last offseason as well. I'm just in a constant pit of confusion with this team. But those are great questions from you. The whole goaltender thing, I'm very intrigued because the Grozenic guy.
It's all unknowns.
Yeah, they're all unknowns. They've never seen NHL talent before. I mean, Sandstrom minimal. Urson hasn't seen it. I think Grozenic maybe has been called up with Boston once or twice.
4 NHL games.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, whoop-de-doo. Goals, you know who's scoring the goals. The newlywed captain, Scott Lawton. He's scoring all the goals. Come on, guys.
Shut up.
Go to hell. Go to
Tony
hell.
DeAngelo, of course.
We're wrong to say Cam Atkinson. Like, am I going to be the only realist on this show? Jesus.
It's on to be connecting. He's on to pull a rabbit out of his butt and score 35.
Yeah, for another team.
Derek, what about you, man? What are the big question marks?
I've got one big question. What the No, I'm just kidding. Everything, man. Everything. Like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, you're talking about centers. Absolutely. We've got Sean Couturier, Kevin Hayes.
And then what?
And
Morgan Frost for 3C once again, baby.
Yeah, I'm not
that's
banking on it.
that's the way it's looking. Like, if we're being real, like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, though, Casey, it's like you have to expect that Sean Couturier or Kevin Hayes are going to get hurt at some point in the year.
Right.
Yep.
And then what?
And then?
Sam Moran, where's your number, boy?
Right.
Okay, Sam, how you feeling?
I heard he was a great coach at development camp. Just throwing that out there.
Swell. Happy for him. But, backup goalie, I think, is less of a question for me because, honestly, I think they go Sandstrom.
I hope they
what's
do.
it going to hurt?
I hope they do, too.
Yeah. I think that, you have Sandstrom. He's locked up. Play him. Damn it, play him. They're saying Urson's going to be in the mix, too. Like, cool. Great. Add them all.
Our other top prospect is locked up. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Literally locked up northernmost Russia.
Siberia.
Yeah. Wish they'd have kept around Ustamenko, but whatever.
My dog having a nightmare right now in the background, yipping. Shit.
I know exactly what he's thinking about. But
Northern Russia.
The biggest question mark for me is still defense. Like, and I
really?
Because
it's fair.
It sucked. It sucks. It's terrible. And we're banking on Tony DeAngelo being able to somewhat replicate what he did in Carolina, which isn't going to happen. Ryan Ellis, what's going on? No one knows. Is this guy ever going to step foot on an ice rink again with a pair of skates on his feet? Like, I don't know. If he does, added bonus. Woohoo. If he doesn't, whatever. Sanheim Ristolainen is the only thing that I can bank on to be decent. And I say decent, But then Braun and York, like, okay, York's still somewhat of an unproven commodity there. Like, I'm not sure how that's going to go. But I'm very weary about the defense because all it takes, one guy, Provorov, DeAngelo, Sanheim, Ristolainen, of those 4 goes down. We're bringing in Sealer. We're bringing in Connaughton again.
We're in the same position we were last year.
Same exact position with no Keith Yandel to bail us out. It's just it's a travesty.
God, thank God we don't. Hey, silver lining. We don't have to deal with the Keith Yandel stuff.
Listen, I'm calling it like August 2nd. We're gonna get notifications that Brassard and Yandel are back.
Shoot me.
Did Yandel go anywhere?
I think he retired. I'm fairly certain he retired.
Did he?
Thank God.
Coming out of retirement.
Brassard, I'd be happy about. Cool, bring him back. Whatever. Yeah. There's no better options, but who knows? Just very skeptical still of the defense because, you guys can crucify me all you want for this, but the Gustafsson thing, an offensive defenseman, I worry about it.
It's not the same thing, dude.
It's not the same thing.
Player. Yeah,
Tony DeAngelo is not Gustafsson.
Well, yeah, Eric Gustafsson seems like a nice guy. I get that. They're not the same person. And I don't know his political views. I just don't. But jokes aside.
Somebody took his negativity pills this morning. Casey, why don't we get some words from you, man? What are some questions that you've got?
So we got one smaller one, then one big one. The smaller one is DeAngelo enough to improve our power play enough to get out of the basement?
Sure.
So, DeAngelo, that's his thing. Like, he is, similar to Ghost, so I hear. in terms of his offensive productivity. Our power play was dismal, and we lost a ton of 1-goal games where we had power play or, extra man for the last 4 minutes. Thanks, Mike Yo. Of the game. Like, you need that 1 goal, and you got to get the power play at least to like the middle of the pack. You can't be the bottom 2 power plays in the league and expect to have anything in there. I think last year we adjusted our PK, and our PK got better. It wasn't great, but it got better. I think this year the power play has got to be a focus. I will also say that, it was clear that when Giroux was gone, everyone's like, okay, we don't have Giroux to rely on. And that's what Giroux wanted, to everything to flow through him.
Yep.
So I think you're just looking for the next guy to come up, and whether that's Frost or whether that's Konechny, whether that's
Tippett. We forget about Tippett.
Whether that's who's the other redhead? I already forgot his name. Holy crap!
Wade Allison.
Dude, he'll be hurt by next week. So
nothing would make. I will buy a friggin' t-shirt jersey of Wade Allison if he lasts the season, because I'm a huge Wade Allison fan. I just Wade.
We have what, rookie camp coming up? Yeah, he's only get hurt in that again.
So I think the power play is question number 1.
Good thing we have a coach that specializes in the power play.
So question number 2 is, how much does coaching really matter? And I think this is going to be the biggest deciding factor of if we are actually still biting for a wild card spot in March, or if we're trading everybody off.
Yeah.
I'm just, Tortorella, I think, is going to be a great coach. I think there's going to be a weeding out factor. And that's going to be big, but he's a no bullshit guy, and we should have 0 egos on this team, including all the new acquisitions we made. There should be 0 egos on this team. And so I'm hoping that it's a buy-in towards the system, and, maybe just good coaching that can reach players can get this team just that much better, that we're at least interested in March.
Right. And it would be an interesting case study between the Flyers and the Islanders this season to answer that question, right? Because you have Barry Trotz, who is a coaching genius, right? He's gone. The Islanders are essentially the same team. It'd be interesting to see what they're like. Right. And then on the flip side, the Flyers, to see with someone who has a great reputation as a coach to come in to see how much he actually affects them.
Absolutely.
It'll be a fun one to watch.
You know what's crazy? The Islanders didn't make a single move
that we know of
as of right now. Yes, but
Lamoriello will announce them in September.
Yeah, right. But the Flyers and the Islanders just literally watched the entire Metropolitan Division just get better and just sat idly by, and it just
that's kind of where I wanted to end things, Hoagie. So I'm going to start with you. Looking at the moves that the rest of the Metro made, where do the Flyers sit right now?
Out of the Metro, what is it? 7 teams in the Metro, I believe.
Sure.
I'm gonna rank them at number 6, the bottom of the barrel.
All right, Derek.
1 spot below last.
Okay.
All right.
Harsh.
How about you, Casey?
It's bad.
I'll be realistic. Yeah, I still think we're going to be better than Jersey, but I don't see anything about that.
Hey, they didn't win the offseason, so you never know.
Right.
I think if Ellis is our only major health concern, obviously not considering Farabee, I think we could be better than 2 teams. When I think of Columbus, when I think of the Islanders and New Jersey, Columbus got Johnny Gaudreau, but are they still really that good? I don't think so, right? I don't think this team is anywhere near a playoff team, but we could be one of the better bad teams in the division.
Better bad teams in the NHL.
Could be worse.
I'll look at it this way, though, that a year ago, throughout the summer, we saw a lot of moves, and Chuck actually, I would argue, did a pretty good job last offseason, even though only one of those moves really paid off and the other is still in question. So Cam, I think, paid off
Yep.
The other one
For
in
sure.
question is still Risto, and I'm a Risto guy. I like Risto.
Yeah.
But we were really excited with all the moves that happened last year, and it just went to shit so quickly.
Yep.
This year, maybe it's vice versa. Maybe
It's setting the bar.
maybe less is more. And
Last
win
offseason, it was
one
set
of
up
every
here.
3 or 4, and it'll just give us something to talk about up to Christmas at least.
Oh, boy.
All right.
It's-
Well, is there anything else that anybody wants to add to this?
Zach McEwen's going to arbitration.
Yep.
so what does that mean? Tell me what that means.
They're fighting over salary.
And what's he making?
Well, he
League
got
minimum.
tendered, so
Yeah.
I'd probably
His last deal was league minimum, and he just watched a Delorier or
Delorier.
Delorier.
So he should be
Delorier.
asking 1.75.
That's exactly. I mean, Hoagie brought that up off air. It's like
Yeah.
he saw the Delorier deal and was like, "Well, I'm a younger him, so
Yeah.
5 mil, Chuck.
Yep.
What's that LTIR looking like?"
You want to throw in a no movement clause too, pal?
And
For
I'll
the
take a fifth
entire
year while
league.
we're at it.
Oh, boy.
I'd
that
like
should be
to see
fun.
him back, but I don't care if he does.
Yeah, but I don't know if he can go now. Like,
If he's
It's
been
just a matter
tendered,
of salary. Like, okay, what are you getting? 1.5 or
I think so, yeah.
So now that he's in arbitration, right? You don't necessarily make it to the hearing. So like they could
A
come
lot of
to
deals are
a
settled
resolution,
before the
right?
hearing.
Yeah. they can
But
sign.
if the arbitrator is the one who determines it, it's like they determine the salary, and then the Flyers have no say.
right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, that's why they don't typically go the length, because no matter the club, they're going to be like, we want to settle this before
Right.
it gets there, or else we're hearing a number we don't want to pay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the only way he's not on the team is if Chuck trades him, which that just doesn't
Yeah, it doesn't seem
Mhm.
possible,
Yeah, who knows at this point?
right?
biggest.
All right, so-
All right, I got one more. How big of a hot seat do you think Chuck is on? Like, really, forget the fan aspect. Like,
Sure.
do you think he makes it through the season?
Yes, but if they have a poor season, I think he's gone the next day.
Yeah.
His seat is charred, and he's being held up by strings being pulled by Holmgren and Clark and all those other guys.
The puppet master.
He doesn't need a seat.
Derek, my wife is one of those people where like she'll get hit with a like slightly brushed with a pillow, and she'll be like, "Ow!" That's what you're reminding me of right now. You're
Yeah.
very dramatic today.
Someone's got to do it, all right? And since I'm not hosting, I figured I'd be the guy.
I think we'll know by February 1st if Chuck is staying or going.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Do you give him the trade deadline, or do you want to do it? You would do it before the trade deadline,
You do it
I
before
don't-
the trade.
I don't
do it
trust him
before
at
the
trade
trade
deadline.
right? Seriously.
With the whole Giroux deal, yeah, I don't trust him there.
Yeah, you
This
do it before the trade
2026
deadline.
draft looks great for us.
Thanks,
Next GM
JVR.
comes in and trades it all away to offload bad contracts.
Right.
All right. Well, I honestly think we could keep going for hours, but then we'd have nothing to talk about for the rest of the summer.
Pretty much.
So next week we will dive into Nick Delorier and all of the assets that he brings to the table. Maybe we'll sprinkle in a little Justin Braun.
The
but,
family values.
Hard to play against. That's going to be the theme this year. Hard to play against.
Hey,
So
all
they
the
get
wife and
lit
kids,
up
bang, bang.
11-0 on opening night, and then at least we were hard to play against. All right, Hoagie. So do you have a dad joke for us?
Of course I do.
Was this one that was sent in from a listener?
It was not.
Darn, I was hoping for a good one.
They were all hockey ones that I'm pretty sure you've all heard before. So
I wrote this one on my toilet.
what did Mike Tyson say after working out with Chris Hemsworth?
I'm Thor.
I'm gonna be Thor in the morning.
Don't make fun of people with lisps. That's not nice, you insensitive bastard.
It's Mike Tyson.
That
Come
about
on
sums
now.
up a pretty awful free
Right? Yeah, Hoagie just tied the bow on a great week in Flyer fandom. All right. Casey, do you want to tell people where they can find you? Or you're not interested.
I don't care.
All right.
Pod
Hoagie.
Casey.
Pod shoot host. Just leave it at that.
All right. Derek, I'm going to just still do my thing. You can find this podcast on the things that are below. And if you're not watching us, well, start watching us because I'm not going to read them all. All right, Derek, your turn.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at PodStreetBob. John's on Twitter at PodStreetGove. You can find all of us on Twitter at PodSTBullies. Check out our affiliates also, Flyers High and Wide. They're on Twitter at FlyersHW. 5 Minute Major Podcast. You can find them on Twitter at 5Min Major Pod. And that's it for this week.
Bye now.
Adios.
Dios mío.